Hello, students, and welcome to Algebra today. And I forgot to put the date on our page, so I'm going to do that right now. It is April 22nd, and that's 2021. And today is Earth Day. So I'd like you to please complete the prompt about Earth Day. Our do now is about Earth Day, and it's kind of interesting. So today we're going to solve equations, but a lot of what we're doing today is going to be combining like terms. We've done that before, but never in the context of solving equations. So our essential questions are, how do I combine like terms, and what exactly is a like term? So let's make sure we understand that before we solve equations using combining like terms. Our assignment will be to complete the do now. We have 2 work pages, an exit ticket, and as always, show me your work when you are finished. So if you don't finish, you can finish for homework, but you still need to make sure you show me your work. Important thing to remember is that showing your work to the teacher is how you get credit for your hard work. Okay, if your camera's not working though, you can send an email to this address. That's my email address right there. So here's our exit ticket. We'll get back to that in a minute. Here's our do now. And today is Earth Day 2021. What actions are you willing to take to make the world an environmentally better place? Are you willing to petition your elected officials to introduce or pass legislation to ban single-use plastics? That means, are you willing to write to the people who make the laws and say, hey, single-use plastic, things that we only use one time, really clog up our environment. Let's ban them. Or are you willing to mobilize or organize a boycott of a company or organization that is contributing to plastic pollution? So, if you know a company is creating these single-use plastics, are you willing to boycott them even if you like their product? Like maybe you like the soda that it comes in or something? Or are you willing to advocate for change in some other way? Think of some other way. And there are plenty of ways to be an advocate for environmental change. But I'd like you to think about what you can do, and then you can write your answer here. So that's our do now for today. Today we are going to solve equations by combining like terms. So let's be mindful of the steps that we're going to go through. So first we combine the like terms. That's the first thing we do. Those terms must have the same variable and the same power. And also numbers are like terms. So then, as usual, we're going to move the constant to the other side of the equation using inverse operations. So if we have a number by itself, we'll move that over. Now, what do we mean by other side? It's the side without the variable. Then we're going to eliminate any coefficients. So we're going to do addition and subtraction before multiplication and division. And we're using inverse operations. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. The opposite or inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. Now, always remembering, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other side. And then you can check your answer with substitution. So let's get started. We're going to solve each equation. You have to show your work, and it's good to check your answers. So we'll start with combining like terms. Negative 5n plus 3n. So that is, think of it as negative 5 plus 3, which equals negative 2. So that's negative 2n plus 1 equals negative 1. So now we're going to, we look at what's happening to this 2n. Well, 1 is being added to it, so we're going to subtract 1, and whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. So that cancels, or adds to 0, actually. So negative 2n equals negative 1 plus negative 1, or negative 2. Now we ask again what is happening to n, and n is being divided by negative 2, multiplied by negative 2. So we will divide by negative 2. And whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. So that isolates our n, and n equals negative 2 over negative 2 equals 1. So we can substitute that back into the equation. Negative 5 times 1 plus 3 times 1 plus 1 equals negative 1. So we have negative 5 times 1 is negative 5 plus 3 plus 1 equals negative 1. So let's go with this negative 5 plus 4, because we combine the 3 and the 1, equals negative 1. And then we'll combine the negative 5 and the negative 1 equals negative 1. And our answer checks. So for number 2, negative 11 equals negative 6x minus 7x plus 2. So let's combine like terms. Negative 6x and negative 7x equal negative 13x. So negative 11 equals minus 13x plus 2. So here's our variable x. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove that 2. So it's being added, so we will subtract it. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So positive 2 and negative 2 equal 0. We bring down our equal sign. Negative 11 minus 2 is negative 13 equals negative 13x. So now we still do not have x isolated, so we're going to divide x by negative 13 because it's being multiplied by negative 13, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. And now we can negative 13 over negative 13 equals 1. So we have our x isolated and our x equals 1. And if we substitute x into the problem, negative 11 equals negative 6 times 1 minus 7 times 1 plus 2. Let's keep evaluating that. So negative 6 times 1 is negative 6 minus 7 plus 2. Negative 6 plus 7 equals negative 13. And then negative 13 plus 2 equals negative 11. And our answer checks. So let's look at number 3. So we've got, let's be careful because they're not next to each other. We have to be mindful of every term. There are 4 terms here. Remember, terms are separated by addition and subtraction. So we have negative 12 equals negative 2x minus x plus 6x. So we can combine negative 2x plus 6x. So that would be negative 12 equals negative 2 plus 6 is 4x, and we still have that minus 8. So we're going to keep 4x together, but we want to isolate it. So let's move 8 over to the other side where there is no variable. If 8 is being subtracted, we add 8, and whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. So negative 8 plus 8 equals 0. Negative 12 plus 8 equals negative 4. So negative 4 equals 4x. And now we have to isolate that x. So x is being multiplied by 4, so we will divide by 4 on both sides. And in this case, when we isolate x, negative 4 divided by positive 4 is negative 1. So our x equals negative 1. We can check our work with negative 12 equals negative 2 times negative 1 minus 8 plus 6 times negative 1. We've substituted for x, and we'll start evaluating. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2 minus 8 plus 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. So let's keep evaluating. So let's do this. Negative 8 plus negative 6. Negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14. And negative 14, remember we have an invisible positive sign there. So 2 minus 14 is negative 12, and our answer checks. So let's go on to number 4. We have our variable v, but in this case, we're not combining variables, we're combining these constants, 3 plus 8. And remember, this is a positive 3. So 3 plus 8 is 11. Then we have plus 7v equals negative 17. Now, we have 11 being added to 7v, so let's subtract 11, and whatever we do from one side, we have to do to the other. And this is going to allow us to isolate the 7v. So we have 7v equals negative 17 minus 11 is negative 28. Now, v is being multiplied by 7, so we're going to divide by 7 to isolate v, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. And that leaves us with v equals negative 28 divided by positive 7 is a negative 4. So let's check our work by substituting for v. So 3 plus 7 times negative 4, remember a letter and a number next to each other is multiplication, plus 8 equals negative 17. So let's evaluate this part here first. So we have 3, 7, positive 7 times negative 4 is negative 28, plus 8 equals negative 17. Let's combine the positive 3 and the positive 8. So that would be positive 11 minus 28 equals negative 17. And 11 minus 28 is negative 17 equals negative 17. And our answer checks. So let's go on. I love the error analysis. Let's see if we can figure out what the error is in these problems. So we have negative 12 equals negative 8x minus 4x. So when we combine negative 8x and negative 4x, we should have that should equal negative 12x. And look what they put. So that is wrong. They subtracted their integers incorrectly. They combined the like terms incorrectly. So let's do this correctly. We have negative 12 equals negative 8x minus 4x. So let's combine the negative 8 and negative 4x. So negative 12 equals 8 and 4 are 12, and they're both negative 12x. So now we need to isolate the x. X is being multiplied by negative 12, so we will divide by negative 12, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. And now we have x equals negative 12 divided by negative 12 is 1. I usually like to write it with the variable on the left. Either way is correct, but that's how I like to write it. So let's look at the second one. We have negative 4 equals 1 plus 6v plus 7. So we need to combine 1 and 7 to make 8. But look what they did. They combined numbers with the variable. They combined everything. And that's not what you're supposed to do. Variables are combined with like variables with the same exponent, and numbers can be combined with numbers. So they combined like terms incorrectly. So let's rewrite it and solve it correctly. We have 4 equals 1 plus 6v plus 7. So we can combine the 1 and the 7. They're both numbers. So 7 plus 1 is 8. So we can say 8 plus 6v. Now we can go ahead and we say what's happening to this term with the variable 6v, and 8 is being added. So we can subtract 8, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So then we will 8 minus 8 equals 0. So on the right side, we have 6v. On the left side, negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12. Now we ask again what is happening to v, and v is being multiplied by 6. So I will divide by 6, and that allows me to isolate v. And my v will equal negative 12 divided by 6, which is negative 2. So v equals negative 2. And that's the correct answer. And the third one, they have negative 3x minus 1 minus 8x equals negative 23. So we have to combine negative 3x minus 8x. And we know that negative 3 minus 8 equals negative 11. So this is incorrect. This should be a negative 11x. So let's solve this correctly, and you'll see how it affects the answer when we're done. So we have negative 3x minus 1 minus 8x equals negative 23. So we can combine negative 3 minus 8, and that will be negative 11x minus 1. We still have this minus 1 equals negative 23. So let's add 1 to both sides of this equation so that we can isolate the negative 11x. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0. And we bring down our negative 11x equals negative 23 plus 1 is negative 22. And now we ask again, what is happening to x? X is being multiplied by negative 11. So we will divide by negative 11, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. And that isolates our x, and x equals negative 22 divided by negative 11 is positive 2. So negative divided by negative is positive. And you can compare that. When they did it incorrectly, they got negative 2. But this is the way it should be done. And finally, our last problem, 5 minus 3k minus 2k equals negative 10. So we need to combine negative 3 minus 2, which should be, when we combine these, it should be negative 5k. And they put 5 minus k, which is an entirely different thing. Totally incorrect. So let's see if we can solve this correctly. So it's 5 minus 3k minus 2k equals negative 10. So negative 3k minus 2k is negative 5k. So that would be 5 minus 5k equals negative 10. Now what's happening to 5k, negative 5k? Well, 5 is being added. And remember, we have an invisible positive sign there. So positive 5 is being added, so we're going to subtract 5, and whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other, and 5 minus 5 equals 0. So that gives us negative 5k equals negative 10 minus 5 is negative 15. So now what's happening to k? K is being multiplied by negative 5, so we will divide by negative 5. And we've isolated k, and we see that k equals negative 15 divided by negative 5, k equals 3. So that's our problems for today. I did give you a little art activity. You can make a street art mural for Earth Day, or we have a great fallen phrase for you to do too, which is spoken by Gaylord Nelson, the founder of Earth Day. So let's go back to our exit ticket. Like terms may either be numbers or they may be the same variable with the same exponent. Okay, so thank you for your hard work. Great job. Keep working hard. And as you know, with practice, you'll be great.